On. Gives a wave, Cam.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football, episode number 47. Has anybody got a shirt number? Who wore 47? Anybody? I was trying to think of this like 5 minutes before we started, and I can't think of anybody who's ever worn number 47.
There's somebody definitely glaringly obvious that we're missing, but
who would choose 47?
It's a bit weird. But we're here today to talk about a lot of things happening in the world of Scottish football by the name of the show, you know that by now. But I'm joined by Callum and Kieran. David's still taking a hiatus, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. We're hoping that the comment section's kind to us today, especially after last night. But I'm sure that, you know, we've got a lot of things to get off our chest considering last night. We'll keep it level headed, don't worry. But it's nice to see you here anyway. We'll dive right into where I've just touched on. The League Cup. Rangers are out. The favourites to win the competition? Not anymore. St Mirren 3, Rangers 2. Let's start with you, Kieran. Your initial reaction to that last night. I'm guessing we were all surprised, but as a Celtic fan, of course, there is that delight there, but your reaction to the game itself.
I mean, I was shocked, to be honest. I mean, because I sat here on Monday and said, it should be a comfortable win for Rangers. And I mean, I think everybody thought there was, you'd have been a madman for saying otherwise before the game, but I don't know, St Mirren deserved to get the result. I mean, they've came out and showed teams that it's possible to beat Rangers this season, and it's just about how the Rangers cope with us. Now they've tasted defeat.
It's an interesting point that was raised by my friend who's a Rangers fan, Scott, who'll probably be listening. Nice to see you, Scott. Rangers who haven't bounced back from cup exits very well in recent years under Gerrard. I think this is, how many competitions is that now that Gerrard has failed to win? Is it 7 now? Six or seven competitions. But Rangers have never came back in a good manner from these. I think they've drawn a couple of games, they've lost a couple of games. The comeback at the weekend, if it happens, will be very telling of the mentality of the Rangers side this year. I'm going to ask your reaction to the game as well, Cam. I just kind of breezed past you there. But your thoughts? I mean,
I was very surprised. I mean, missed a bit of the first half. Came in, seemed towards the tail end of it. I was very surprised to see the fact that it was 1-0 going at half time. I thought to myself, how?
At that point though, you're thinking to yourself, they're going to go out and battle them at 3-4.
You expect Gerrard to go in there and get on an absolute roll and get them all fired up, and the committee, just said, put 3 or 4 past them in the second half. But
a lot of people were very. I'm trying to think. They were questioning his team selection yesterday. A lot of people using the excuse that it wasn't the best team it was fielded, hence the reason they went out. But you look at it, it's still a team that should be very capable of beating St Mirren.
Still a strong team. And 3 or 4 first team players at the back line. There you go.
I think the thing that annoys me with that is the way that Rangers fans have raved about how good their squad depth is this season. So they kind of use that as an excuse, like fielding a second team, because apparently this is the best second team they've got in the country. So surely it's good enough to beat St Mirren the way they've been going on about it.
Aye, and of course St Mirren haven't had the best season either. So
that team on paper should still be beating St Mirren.
Should be. It's like we kind of as Celtic fans, so we're going to stay level-headed here. We can't say much. We went out in the last round, and that's reality. And you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself by saying anything, considering we've got a cup final, which still for me isn't one I'm filled with confidence for on Sunday. But it is a surprise. Like for people who've been listening to this show from day one, I used to rant and rave about Conor McCarthy, so there was nothing more delightful than seeing his name come up for the winner yesterday. David always used to ask me, why do you think McCarthy's so good? This is the reason I've been waiting. Look, Jim Goodwin's side done incredibly well, you know, especially if going 1-0 down, you think, well, you go 1-0 down, that's all signs of going to get battered or whatever. But they came back into the game, they take the lead into the game. Penalty, which was, there was a bit of a debate around the referee situation, never mind the penalty situation last night, but it was clearly a penalty. I think we can all agree on that.
I think it's just naivety for the was it Bassey?
It's Bassey.
It's just, I mean, the striker knows what he's doing, he's waiting for the contact, but I mean, it's still contact inside the area.
It's the same point you raised earlier about
before we came on with Brown a few weeks ago at Easter Road with Boyle. Again, it's just smart, just turn your back and let him play into you.
Very simple. Jim Goodwin was sent off at the end of the game. I think it's bizarre. Did you see what he was sent off for?
No, I've seen speculation about it, but
so he turns around and I don't know what the fourth official sends him off for turning round and going to thin air. It's not like he's there to a set of fans, man.
I suppose
Jim Goodman
Halliday, he goes for doing it towards even the Rangers.
I suppose
fans.
we've got to have consistency in our decisions, but it's one of the ones that's baffling. Look, there's no fans in the stadium. He's not directed it towards Steven Gerrard. He's not directed it towards a Rangers player. He came out today in his interview and he was saying there was no intent that it was just one of the moments. You kind of you celebrate. He said, look at it as nothing more than a fist bump.
I seen a tweet saying that in Back Island it means that in this instance that the game is over.
Exactly. I think it's daft, and that's nothing against. That's nothing against Rangers. It's purely backing up Jim Goodwin here, and I would do the same thing if it was against Celtic. I think it's ridiculous he's been sent off for it. I could understand, remember when Neil Lennon was at Easter Road a few years ago, and Ibrox a few years ago, and he turns around the geese at the cut in the ears, and then Grant, that's a situation where you should be
that's proper trying to
sent off. Exactly. But I think it was ridiculous sent off. Now the main question is, Rangers bouncing back from this game is going to be very telling, as I've already said, towards where their season goes now. Motherwell haven't been great this season. Rangers must win this game. Of course, a lot of Rangers fans have said that they would prefer this happened last night than it would happen in a league game and end up bottling this league. Does it fill you with faith that this still is there's a chance for Celtic coming? Callum, what's up with you?
I've said it to a good few people. I wouldn't say the league's done until it's mathematically impossible for this to catch Rangers, but for me, I see them bouncing back straight away. Personally, I feel I think Gerrard's done something different you've seen this season. Obviously, yeah, they take the defeat last night, but I think again he goes out the weekend, field the strongest team possible and just goes for and kill battle.
Yourself?
I mean, I think it's hard to look past what Cam said because I think that is going to be the case. Just the way Rangers have been playing this season, obviously this is their first time tasting defeat in this domestic campaign, but in previous seasons I thought that they're going to spiral out of control here, they're going to crumble, but there's nothing this season to suggest that they're going to go and absolutely lose the plot here. It's just a blip, to be honest with you, and I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but I think they're going to batter Motherwell.
I mean, with everything that Motherwell shown this season, you'd expect so, and with it being at Ibrox, the ball is a firm line Rangers scope to bounce back from this, and I think it's still going to take time for Celtic to close that gap, while also being convincing enough to show you that there is signs of a title charge coming. Rangers, I don't think I have to worry too much. It is a poor result, and there will be a lot of people giving the whole serial losers argument. But as I said, we got knocked out in the last round. So let's keep our mouths shut for now. That was the first tie. The second tie we'll move to. Sadly, he's not here to talk about it. But we'll talk about Dunfermline and St Johnstone, which ended in a penalty loss. The first thing I done was I said to David right after the game, I was like, that must have been heartbreaking. He's like, it was bad, and I think his mindset was like, we got to the quarterfinals, that's good, but after last night watching Rangers go out, it makes it all the more sorer. The fact that they would have had a genuine chance of probably going and winning it now, and they're out. But St Johnstone, it's a good bounce back for them after losing at the weekend, and they've got themselves in a position now against Hibs in the semi-final where they can challenge them, because they've shown that all season now that they can be a tough team to beat. Thoughts, Keelan? Anything towards St Johnstone, Dunfermline?
I mean, I think they'd have rather got it wrapped up in the 90 minutes than playing all that time plus penalties, considering they've got a game at the weekend that they need to try and get a win in after suffering defeat. Was it against Livy last weekend? So they're looking to bounce back for that. Obviously they got through the next round of the Cup, which is obviously got to be a lift for any team, but I think they just need to hope that having to play the 120 minutes didn't take out some of the players, because it's a big game at the weekend.
Here's a question, Cam, I direct to you. This is one I should probably save for after we've talked about all the semi-finals, but it's a nice point I want to talk about now, because Dunfermline were the only championship team left. We're left with 4 Premiership teams now, but there's no Old Firm side there. Is it a positive or is it a negative for Scottish football?
Personally, I feel it's a positive. I mean, it goes as if it's saying like, give your wee brother a shot if you will, give the lesser one a shot. I think it's brilliant, because for me, I don't think you can predict a winner out there for any of those 4 teams can be winner.
Because right now Hibs are probably the favourites, but we said that about Rangers. Nice transition into Hibs and Alloa here. Hibs, yes, for as much as they might be the favourites, just didn't make it easy. It was, he went down to Alloa, 1-0 down, had to fight hard. Yes, they might have been all over them in the game, but Alloa did certainly give them a go. And now Hibs are in a position where they can go and win a trophy. Jack Ross would love that. I mean, do you felt with faith that Hibs can go on to win this tournament now?
I don't know, again, as I said, it's genuinely any of those 4 teams to win it.
See,
I
know, I agree with that, because I don't know, I think Hibs having the pressure on them, I don't know how well they'll cope with that, to be honest, because I feel they like being the underdog in these sort of situations. They don't like everybody thinking, right, they're the team to go and win it, because as you've seen in the past, they have hibsed it. But, I mean,
famous phrase.
It's no trying to disrespect the other three teams, but obviously on paper this should be Hibs' tournament to lose now. But I honestly don't know. I don't see them winning it, to be honest. I fancy St Mirren. I mean, any of the teams to deserve to actually win it, to have put out Aberdeen and Rangers on the way to the final.
I know, and especially a season where St Mirren haven't exactly been great. And Tony Fitzpatrick, who came out at the start of the season, who said, you know, we want top 6 this year. People kind of laughed at him, and then they continued to laugh when they've seen where they are in the league. You know, they're relegation candidates at the moment. But they're kind of being vindicated here a bit with this cup run. Aberdeen, Hibs, as you've said, very solid chance of going on and taking the whole thing. The last game to talk about very quickly, we'll go to Livingston and Ross County. Ross County out after not at Celtic, disappointing for them. But Martindale, he keeps the
keeps the running form going.
Exactly. I mean, Livingston right now, I mean, he's got to have guaranteed himself the job first of all. But it's big for them because once again didn't start the season too great. They've got Alan Forrester, I think, is the top scorer in the competition at this point. It's an interesting tie for them in St Mirren. On the game itself, any thoughts to throw out there for any of the twos?
I mean, I did think Livy were going to win that game, to be honest, just because of the run of form that they've been on. It's been convincing of them. I didn't doubt them to go out and get the result against who was it up in again?
Ross County.
He just went blank, yeah. But no, I know like Ross County went into that game after putting us out in the round before, but I don't know, I just feel the way Livy have been playing, they've been getting the result week in, week out there for the past few weeks, so I didn't see it stopping, and I was proved right.
Gary Holt must be scunnered at the minute because he was struggling for so long, and the minute he's gone, seems the ideas are coming across. They've got Forrest scoring goals, they're through to the semi-final of the Cup. Hampden is set for a good weekend in January, 23rd of January I think the weekend is scheduled for the semi-finals. We've got Livingston, St Mirren, we've got St Johnstone, Hibs. Look, you said earlier you think that St Mirren could go on and end up taking the whole thing, so I'm going to pose the question to you as we stand. Of course this will change and we'll revisit it when we get to the week of, but right now as it stands, what do you think the cup final is setting out to be? Because you kind of started this, I'll come to you first, Kieran. Do you think St Mirren will put out Livingston? Is it going to be Hibs joining them in the final?
I think it will be Hibs, aye.
I
think it's got to be.
I'd switch it, Hibs Livy.
Hibs Livy? Well, a wee Hibs Livy final. I don't know, there's something to it. I have a suspicion that Livingston will get to the final. I have a suspicion Livingston will win the whole thing, in fact. I think it's going to be a Livy St Johnstone final. There's just something about Hibs this season. Of course they've been great. There's just, I don't know, there's something there, and I don't know if it's just because of the result against Alloa that they left it so fine. You know, it's only 2-1. You expect them to probably go out and win 3-4-0, something like that. Something telling me that they're just not going to get there, and you know they've lost to Aberdeen now, and you know they've not been great in those kind of pressured scenarios because ultimately Aberdeen's their biggest competitors this season for that third place. I don't know. St Johnstone Livy's calling out to me. I just think it's going to happen. But aye, League Cup is well and truly setting up to be something interesting. Any final thoughts on the League Cup before we move on? I mean, I'm certain nobody got anything to say about Rangers while we're here. No.
as we said before, level-headed.
Keep it level-headed. I'm very tempted to get up and do a full-on rendition. I love it up. I'm joking. Jeez, oh Christ, I can imagine.
We've got a cup final on Sunday. I'll
sing it after that for the sake of yourselves. Right, we'll move on to the cup final then. Very nice transition, Kieran, well done. And Celtic take on Hearts in what is the chance to make history. The chance for...
Before you win, will you be there?
Will I be there?
Yeah.
No, I won't be there.
Will you be there, Kieran?
Indeed, I will not.
No, I had a wee joke planned before.
Oh, did you? Yep.
I'll continue the Gavin Stratton part.
I was wondering.
I'll continue.
Do you know what actually really annoyed me? I meant to start the show. I was saying this all week to David. I was like, let's start the show where I'm joined by Kieran and Gavin Stratton. So I'm glad that I forgot it and let you do that because that is fantastic. What was your reaction to getting called Gavin Stratton at first?
It was quite offending at first, but I thought
you're running with it now. You're running with it. That is outstanding.
Roll with the punches.
Like talking about being there. I mean, Kieran was nearly not the last one here to sneak yourself in.
That's a brilliant story within itself.
We'll save that for an episode of the Celtic Thunder. I'm sure we'll have an episode titled "Strangest Match Day Experiences" or something. I think that might be the strangest I've had. Try to think. It does matter. For another day, I'm getting off track now. But the cup final is coming up. Gavin, tell us. The big question around it is, of course, with the quadruple treble kind of looming now, and a chance to do something that will probably never be done ever again. A lot of fans have been turned off of the idea of even celebrating it because of how bad Celtic have been recently. The quadruple treble, is it still as big as what we should make it, or is it just a kind of get it over and done with and crack on with the league?
Personally, for me, I'd rather just get it over and done with, crack on with the league, considering where they are now with the league. But again, at the same time, you can't look past a cup final and say a quadruple treble. Nobody can say they've done that.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a tough one, because on any other circumstance, if we go into this game, even at just a couple of points shy of Rangers, we go into this full-on party mode. Imagine being there. But it's just that the atmosphere's been kind of tainted by what the last few weeks has been at Celtic. Kieran, confidence going into the game, thoughts going into the game, just tell us anything you like, because there's so much to cover in the game itself. There's so many different angles to look at it.
See, with the game as well, I mean, it's hard to be as excited for it if the world was normal, if we were normal circumstances going to the game.
Aye.
Like, even if the fans were there, it's just a completely different experience. And
Aye.
I think you both feel it. It's just no flat, but I think it's something you look back on if we win this cup final and think we won the quadruple treble.
Aye.
It's an achievement that won't ever get done again. It's something you look back on with pride, but at the current moment it just feels, it's weird because you're no there. It just doesn't feel real. Aye. If that makes sense.
Exactly, because you think of the treble day, right? The whole Celtic, we half bottle on you, on the bus to the game, blah blah whatever. But you think of the aftermath, piling it, watching it. The thing I love most about Hampden, and I said this in an interview the other day, the thing I love most about Hampden is watching the other half pile out the stadium. And of course, as Celtic fans, we have became used to being the ones watching that happen. We've watched Rangers, Hearts, Hibs fans, Motherwell fans, everything just pile out the other half, and I love that sight. We don't get that. You get to see that, you get to see the win lift the trophy, you get to sing You'll Never Walk Alone. Then of course treble day, you're down the Gallagher, there's thousands lined at each side waiting for a bus that doesn't even turn up. And it's just an overall amazing day, but you're robbed of it this year, and you don't get to see it. So it does, not even just the form, the whole experience of the day is gone, and it really is saddening. But you can't look past the achievement of what it is. It's massive, and a chance for Neil Lennon to secure his first treble as a manager as well. So the fact of the matter is, if we win this quadruple treble on Sunday, criticism will probably still follow, because of one thing that I want to talk about. It could cost the game for Celtic on Sunday. Team selection. He's came out and said that he's kind of leaning towards playing the old guard. Brown should be back in the team. Kieran, for you, would you start Turnbull and Sorrow, or do you think he's making the right decision by going back to Brown?
We touched on it ever so slightly in the last podcast, but I made it clear that I think Turnbull and Sorrow, the players in form, should be in the team. I think it's as simple as that. The sort of sentiment keeping players in the team just because they got us to the final, it's that sort of like looking out for your pals sort of thing that's got us in the situation we are this season. Playing Brown in however many games back to back for near enough a full 90 minutes, when a few weeks prior Lennon came out and criticised Scotland for playing Christie, somebody who should be at the peak of his fitness, for playing 390 minutes. So it's just been all over the place this season with team selection, and if it goes into it with the old guard, I mean, I don't know, it's a depressing thought, but hopefully we get the result either way. But he's really making it difficult for himself, I think, playing Brown and even putting Christie back in, because he's been off the boil recently.
Is this the be all end all for Lennon if it is a loss, anything but lifting that trophy on Sunday? You think that's it?
You would like to say aye, but then again we go back to the question again a few weeks ago, who do you bring in?
On that point quickly, previously we've not had any options as to who to bring in, but Slaven Bilic getting sacked for West Brom.
I know, that's a big
that's somebody that we were, like, Celtic fans were sort of looking at before Lennon got the job back.
Because he was unemployed at that time as well, because I think that was just before the West Brom job was given to him.
But that's a possible candidate that I think would be an improvement on Neil Lennon.
I think definitely. I think it was a shame it was sacked for West Brom altogether, to be honest.
I think he needs sacked off, so I think a 1-each draw.
I know, I can understand. It's the fact I was looking at the posts from so West Brom put up their statement, like, oh, blah blah, Slaven's gone, all this. The fans were not happy. The fans were saying in the comments, shocking. And I think a lot of them were putting on the same kind of business here. The board, the board having no clue what they're doing. I think they've got a Chinese owner, and they're saying has no clue, whatever, blah blah. So I guess that kind of just echoes it out. Business has become the fucking priority now in football. But I thought I was howling it. I just wanted to throw a thing because I thought it was hilarious. Somebody commented, it was a big rant. It was like a full tweet long, basically saying, sack the board, blah blah blah. At the end of it, there is only one Albion, and the top reply to it was, "Your rank powers too, but Burton and West Brom." I thought I had a giggle at that, but Slim, it's a very good point. That, there's an option there. Quickly, because we can't just talk about all Celtic as we're talking Scottish football. On the Hearts side of things, it's a massive game for Hearts after the last year. Getting relegated as they seen unrightfully from the league, it's a kind of chance to use the word again, vindicate all of that. Obviously the death of Zaliukas as well will be, we've seen how it affects teams in the past. As Celtic fans, we know how much the death of a club icon can kind of push you on. And then of course Hearts just kind of need this. It's been a tough year for their fans going down. Being the Championship isn't where they belong, so it's a big weekend for them, and they lost the last one to Celtic too. So it's a chance for them to kind of get a wee bit of retribution. They haven't been great in the Championship for me this year. I know they're off the back of a 6-1 win, but I feel like a couple of the results have flattered them. Callum, I'll start with you. Hearts, the overall threat of them going into the game, any thoughts towards them?
I just should be the threat of them. See, but it's a one-off game.
Aye.
Just go for it.
Aye.
I generally don't think they'll sit back and try and absorb pressure. I don't think they'll get honey-potted either and draw right out to their plays.
Aye.
I generally think they'll just go for it. What have you got to lose?
It's a very different Hearts team, Kieran. I'll come at you here. Very different Hearts team we're going to play, not in terms of the squad, but you've got to think Craig Levein's gone. Craig Levein had a very distinct style of football. We're now playing a manager who's a bit more positive, Robbie Nielsen, who's had success in the past with Hearts and with Dundee United, of course, as well in the Championship last season. Will we expect to see something different for them, you think?
I think it would be stupid for them not to have a go. I mean, it's a one-half game, anything can happen. I mean, I still think if Celtic turn up, it's not a contest, but obviously that is very reliant on Celtic, a team who have not turned up for many games this season, on turning up. But I mean, you can't look past Hearts' squad. As I said in previous times, it's a Premiership squad in the Championship. It goes back to the whole question whether it was it wasn't right to put them down to the but I mean that's something for another day.
That's a whole podcast itself. I think the time is gone,
but you can't look past them. You'd be stupid to try and not take it seriously, and I don't think Celtic will go out there and think this is going to be a walk in the park, because players in that squad, even if you look at the ones that used to play for Rangers, they'll be well up for it. Halliday, Naismith, if he's fit, these players will be well up for playing against Celtic, and it'll mean the world to them. It'll mean the world to every other player to go out and win the Scottish Cup, but I think there's a bit extra something there with having players like that in their squad. It'd
be good if we could have any amount of fans in the stadium this weekend. I think it would have added a bit more to the game. As you said, Halliday, Naismith, I've got experience. I've also got good young talents in there too. I don't fear Halliday though. I don't fear him at all. It's rank rotten, man. Look at his face. I don't believe in superstition. You can shove it. I don't care. But watch Halliday. I was saying, somebody they said to me, watch Halliday go out and try and break Turnbull's legs. That wouldn't shock me. But as the Scottish Cup final this weekend, of course, be very interesting to hear our thoughts afterwards. Look, it's going to be a tough game, so I don't really want to ask you, because I don't think you will. We always do the match predictions. What do you think?
I'll just go for the standard. Well, 2-1 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic.
1-0 Celtic.
I was waiting for you to turn around and go 3-0, and I'm the one who jinxed this. I'm going to go for a. Watch my video tomorrow and you'll find it. That's shameless plug. Shameless plug. So that's the Scottish Cup final. Then we'll move on to the Premiership. For this week, it's actually quite a lot to fly through this week, man. There's so much to talk about. So we'll get on to the Premiership, because that's the best place to start. We've got a lot of conversation in the Championship, right enough. Stay tuned as we're talking about a financial situation that's unfurling at Morton, which could see a wee club go to the war, which is a shame. But we'll start the Premiership, and we'll go with, because we've already spoke about them, we may as well get it done and out the road. Rangers and Motherwell at Ibrox, 3 o'clock kick-off. And once again, we've basically said a lot of what we've had to say. It's the chance for Rangers to bounce back. There's no much else to add. Motherwell, though, they've shown before in the past, a wee bit of hammer throwing, they can get something. Is there really any hope, though? Kieran, start with you.
I think maybe if it was away from home, there'd be a bit more of a chance. But I mean, even that's not that realistic a proposition this season, considering Rangers went there and hammered them earlier on this season. I just don't like the idea of Motherwell going to them this weekend. I feel like it would have been beneficial for us foremost if they had a harder game to bounce back. But I think, as I said earlier, they're going to hammer them. The only thing I could maybe put in Motherwell's favour is the fact that the pressure's on Rangers now completely, in terms of Stephen Robson's had a tough time a wee bit recently, especially losing last weekend to St Mirren. But the pressure is on Rangers this weekend, obviously, after getting put out against St Mirren. They need to come out and not only win but make a statement with it, just to say we're not going to stumble this season. It's just to show a mentality change in the team that needs to be shown.
Morelos is suspended for this, isn't he?
Yep.
Aye, so he's out. He also missed the game last night, which can potentially have an impact. But once again, Calm, is he getting past the Rangers win?
Nah, see, he's a days for Rangers.
It is basically that, because I just don't know, Motherwell have just been in previous years. You think your Motherwell teams that can actually challenge and do something. Ibrox at the best of times for Motherwell still a tough game, so at the toughest of times I don't see them getting much. They're 4 games in a trot now without a win. I think it would take a miracle of the highest order for them to get anything, so we'll see what happens. Big chance for Rangers to bounce back though. Will they fall under the same curse that they have in previous cup exits? That's the question. Hibs Dundee United, quite an interesting game there. Of course, Hibs flying, they've won the last 2 games. Dundee United in desperate need to kind of turn around after 2 losses in the bounce now. Hibs off the back of a midweek win. Dundee United got to sit out. Will the freshness come into play? Calm, start with you. Do you think Dundee United have a chance at anything here?
I don't know. I mean, being at Easter Road, I feel Hibs have done very well there this season, but taking draws from both Old Firm teams, taking results, I don't see much past the Hibs win here.
Calm?
I think it's got to be a Hibs win, especially is it Easter Road?
It's Easter Road.
Especially at Easter Road. I know Dundee United only got beat 2-1 off Rangers at the weekend there. I mean, it wasn't the most convincing Rangers performance. I thought Dundee United had decent wee spells in the game, but the only thing that was really noticeable, I understand you're playing against them, like, as it stands, the best team in the league, but their inability to actually play it out for the back. There's so many times where they just couldn't string passes together, and it was like, you're not going to get anywhere doing that. But I
guess against Rangers, the only difference is you're playing a team that are far more kind of aggressive in the defensive part of things. You know, they'll press you high up the park, they'll want that. But Hibs can do that too, so I guess you're right. It's got to be difficult to do that against Hibs.
I can't see past a comfortable Hibs win.
A comfortable Hibs win. How comfortable we talking here?
3-0.
3-0. Oh, he's confident, aye. That's my left bollock. Right, we'll go to St Mirren and St Johnstone, the Saints, the battle of the Saints derby. Once again, both teams will be riding a high after midweek success. And both teams, of course, very similar standings in the table. St Johnstone, wee bit of a dry patch in terms of they've not had 3 points in a while. St Mirren on decent form. I'm telling you, I fancy St Mirren at St Mirren Park as well. I just think St Mirren could take this, Kieran. You're nodding your head in agreement.
Nah, I can only see a St Mirren win. I mean, after the past 2 wins they got, even gone away last weekend and beaten Motherwell, then obviously going to beat Rangers midweek. It's just, I feel they're going to be on a high. Obviously St Johnstone got the qualification to the semi-finals midweek, but after losing last weekend and then it taking them to penalties to get that midweek, I don't know, I can't see past that.
Of course, fitness, as Kieran said, got to maybe take a bit of a toll here for St Johnstone. How fresh will the players be? Your thoughts in the game?
For me, I see it as a St Mirren win again as well. When you look at the last year results, draw, win, and then also the cup win against Aberdeen as well, and Rangers, I don't see much all in this St Mirren win there.
Conor McCarthy to step up again and do the business. That's what I'm saying. Big Conor McCarthy. What a player. What an absolute player. We'll move on to the last couple of games. We've got a Sunday game we'll come to last. Before that, Ross County and Hamilton. David hates it when I say it, but for me it is the humdinger of the weekend. It's not an attractive tie at all. I know we're meant to big up the game in this podcast, but it's a bit difficult. Brian Rice is starting to get a wee bit of mojo back. When they've had a couple of positive results over the past few weeks. Ross County are now bottom of the table. This could be telling as to who could be the team finishing bottom. Ross County's fortunes have turned very, very quickly. Kieran, I'll start with you. Thoughts towards Hamilton Ross County weekend, or Ross County Hamilton, I should say.
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's bottom of the table clash. I can only see a draw happening in that game.
Oh, it's not that much.
I know it's got a neat straight with it.
I thought it did. I just seen you kind of.
I was just waiting for you to say the fact it's going to end up about a 6 each.
It's like there was a game earlier in this season. I can't remember. Say that me and David were sitting here. And I was like, that's 0-0.
It was a Hamilton game, was it? No.
I might have been. I don't know. It probably was. And Callum, your thoughts as well, very quickly, so we can change the camera here.
1-0 Ross County. Don't see much all that.
Is that it? Big Chipper. Nothing about Big Chipper.
Nah.
Any thoughts on him now?
Don't fancy him.
Handsome boy, isn't he? Okay.
Take a drink.
Take
a drink.
Take a drink. You know. Right, we're going to the Championship, and I'm going to start with.
We've still got a Premiership game to go.
Oh, so we have, jeez, you used to tell me that for a cut of the camera. Telling you, David's fuming. Kilmarnock Aberdeen is the last game of the weekend. A game which could be very enticing. It's televised as well, so nice to see a wee bit of variety on the telly. Aberdeen for me are going to take the win here though. I just think Kilmarnock they've not been too great recently. I do rate Alex Dyer. I like what he's doing at Kilmarnock at times, but I don't know, it's just something about Aberdeen at the minute. Very good squad, very good team, can't look past it. And that's my opinion. That's it basically summed up.
I know, I agree with that. I think Aberdeen will win. I don't think it'll be convincing by any means, but they'll be looking to build on that win against Ross County last weekend, and they're desperate for a bit of consistency this season, so I think they'll be looking to get the win, then get a decent run of form of the festive period.
You know what Kilmarnock's like? They like to sit in deep, they like to drain the life out of you. Of course, at Celtic Park, they didn't do it too well last week. I think we got in behind them a few times. So Callum, very quickly, to end off the Premiership, your thoughts?
I don't know, I think I agree with Kieran there. I think Aberdeen win, certainly, but I don't be as convincing.
I think it's going to be convincing.
I think so. That plastic pitch plays a part.
I suppose I keep forgetting it's at Rugby Park, and of course it's an advantage that Kilmarnock often play to, but I don't know, it's one of the ones, like, you know, when it was last week, it was me and you, or was it, I can't remember, it was me, you and David, wasn't it, that predicted 1-0 to St Mirren in the I don't know, and I was sitting there and that was quite a bold claim in itself at the time. I don't know, I just see like Aberdeen winning 3 or 4-0 here. It's just I don't know what it is. It's probably going to look daft come the weekend, watch Kilmarnock walk away with the result, but I don't know, it's just something called my name. Championship, we're going to start with a big story in the Championship at the minute, and it's the state of Greenock Morton. Morton are facing financial turmoil, the back is to the wall, and they're looking like a club who might not even be surviving the bells. They won't be bringing that in well down there. David Hopkin, of course, left last week, and it was kind of at first mysterious, you know. There was no really there was no kind of reason there wasn't a sacking. There was no sort of thing there. It then came out that David Hopkin was quitting because of financial reasons at the club, couldn't afford to keep him on, and that he was also using money out of his own pocket to fund the players' wages. Now they're in a terrible predicament, and they're facing, you know, possible extinction. We all know that COVID has not been nice to the smaller clubs. Clubs are screaming out for fans to be allowed back in the grounds. For me, first of all, just want to say very quickly, this is a club which could very easily allow fans back in. I believe the Inverclyde area is in Tier 2, which means, you know, down in England, Tier 2 are allowed fans in. Their average attendance must be around maybe 2,000, 3,000 people max. You're telling me you can't fit 2,000 people around that ground in a socially distanced manner to help save clubs like this? It's ridiculous, because they should be allowed to, but at the end of the day they're not in a good situation. Kieran, we spoke about it on air, we were preparing for this. Fill out saying anything that you've been looking about.
I mean, obviously there was that sort of mistake about why he left the club, but then obviously it's been revealed that it was a selfish sort of act to try and save the club money, which is very commendable, and especially when you hear about the fact that he was paying out his own pocket for players' wages and sort of got compensation for travel and that for the players. I mean, it's just a bit of a mess down there at Greenock with the club. I mean, you've read that the fans, like the group that are trying to buy the club, they're putting £10,000 in every month, I think I read. But the owners of the club have just stopped putting money in because they're relying too much on that money, and they've squandered the money that's been put in by the fans. So I can only imagine how frustrating it is to be in a predicament where money that to even clubs like Celtic and Rangers right now isn't that big. You've got players on more than what their wage bill is in a week, so it must be frustrating for fans looking at that thinking surely we can be helped out. And I feel like there might be, I've seen a petition about signing, I don't know what it was actually for, I've seen it was on the thread on Twitter about it, but I mean it's horrible to see wee clubs like that, because you knew that there was going to be financial problems for clubs, but I think that's the first time that you're really seeing the serious implications of it.
Because this is the kind of first club that it's happened to, and to be honest, I was expecting it to this extent anyway. We all know teams are struggling financially, that's no secret. It's not the first club to suffer that, but this is the first sort of really serious. You know, I think the headline, and I think it was the Daily Record's headline, was something like, you know, it could be 1 week and this club could be bankrupt. And it might be the beginning of a spiral that sees a lot of clubs, especially this is a club of a higher level as well. You know, it's Championship. This isn't League 1, League 2. This is a higher level. Callum, I was going to ask you a specific question on it, and it's just slipped my head. I think it's around the lines of all that I was going to ask you anyway. But your thoughts towards the situation so far? You got anything to add to try and think of this question again?
Personally, I feel quite bad for them. I feel they'll maybe try and put a press towards the SFA to have a word with Sturgeon and such about the grant that was supposed to be provided towards all clubs. I mean, it's especially a local club. I personally like to see a few of the bigger clubs say, "No what, give a shit around." Some of the big clubs I feel don't need it.
It's like, Celtic and Rangers right now seem to be in a position where they're well sustainable enough to move on throughout the season, wait until fans are back. You touched on the government grant situation.
I've seen talk that the grant won't even make a dent in
really
what's needed to save them.
But because it's maybe what £55 million, something like that. I think like
Jesus,
could sign their players. No 55 for that. I think it's 55 million. That's not just football as well. I think it's sport altogether. I think it's just rugby clubs, blah blah blah. So we get a very small portion.
It does show the extent of the problem, but because I mean I've seen that they've got a really oversized squad and it's not in the right areas and that, and they're going to try and. I've seen selling players in January probably won't have too much an effect on how they're playing on the park, but I mean it'll be certainly a good lift off the shoulders if the financial burden they're facing right now. But it's sad to see where clubs potentially going to the wall,
because if you start seeing a trend going on, because down south they've got the advantage now where there's been so many lower league clubs that have been allowed fans back in the grounds for months now. I think it's been 2-3 months since the first kind of 8th tier club was allowed to bring fans back into the stadium. That's good on them. I applaud that they've been allowed fans back in, well done, but the treatment up here is genuinely now at the point where it is killing the sport. We're watching one of the clubs who have been here for such a long time, a very, very big club in the area of course, perhaps just vanish into fresh air.
Personally, for me, I think it comes into the house and you look at the TV money. You chuck that down south. I know you said the 8th tier, with fans come back in, but you even compare, I know very different levels of Championship to theirs, but the amount of money it's put into the Championship down south,
a club like Barnsley,
there you go.
Don't have to worry too much.
The problem is as well, in terms of even way fans going back, like I'm not talking championship level, but I mean more like League 2. League 2 clubs down in England, because England obviously is a bigger country, they've got bigger fan bases for the bigger clubs. You can't imagine that fans coming back into certain clubs in League 2 will automatically be the saviour they need.
These are detrimental effects that could last years.
No club is immune to the financial problems that are happening, even at the very highest level in Scotland. We might not see it as bad, but it's still there to see. But
of course, you've got Dave King across the road wanting to sell his shares back out. There will be like Celtic, I think, have lost basically everything they made on Kieran Tierney because of the situation. It is affecting everybody. The only thing is, I hope this grant does eventually come through and do help these clubs. As you said, it might not even take it that much help because of how bad the situation it is. But it might just be too late. The time it comes around, Morton might generally be gone by then. So we'll watch it as it unfurls. It is a developing story, of course. There's probably a lot more to it, and Morton have still got games to play, so that kind of leads us into the Championship this weekend. Queen of Morton, Queen of the South. Now that is a nice way, perhaps, for Morton fans to round out for tough week, because it's a very winnable game. Queen of the South have struggled. Morton have not exactly been great either, but they've been better off. Any thoughts very quickly?
I mean, they got the result last weekend, Morton, didn't they? Yeah. Away at Dunfermline. So, and obviously Queen of the South got hammered.
Also, sorry for messing up the fixtures again.
Queen of the South got hammered off the Hearts, so you'd think Greenock Morton should go into this hopefully getting the win.
I think they've only got one coach at the club at the minute, which is madness, I mean, sometimes we joke that we've not got a coaching team, but they've generally not got a coaching team.
Should put you in the dugout. Right, boys, we've got Inverness this week.
Hey, boss, right, on the bus, up the road. We're playing at home. Dundee and Dunfermline. Callum, I'll come to you. Very good game because it's two of the teams that at the start of the season, of course, were touted to be up the top and perhaps challenged for promotion. Dunfermline need to bounce back. Now, Dunfermline went on a very lengthy run of good results. They hadn't lost a game since I think it was February, maybe even January, up until last week, and now they've lost 2 in the bounce, 1 in penalties. So we'll give them a bit of a easier time with it. But Dundee, Dunfermline, will Dunfermline bounce back?
Personally, I'd like to think so. I think they should be able to pick themselves back up for that. I feel go and play Dundee. Dundee aren't exactly the best run of form either.
Kieran?
I think it's just about mentality. If Dunfermline can pick themselves back up after being on such a good run to then lose it, how will they deal with it? Because I mean, it's not a situation that they find themselves in all that often gone on a run as good as this.
Aye.
So it's going to be similar to Rangers in the situation. It's going to be interesting to see the mentality they've got this season as to if they're able to bounce back straight away.
It's mad because I've known David for nearly about 2 years now. Nearly about a year and a half now. I've known David, and obviously the first kind of season of football that I've known him, Dunfermline weren't amazing. They were relying very heavily on this man, giving his bit. But when they did hit a bad run of form, it was a bad run of form. It took them quite a while to get out of it. So, as we said about Rangers, it's very telling of where Dunfermline now head. And if they can kind of turn this around and not get themselves stuck in a rut, they do not want to fall any further behind Hearts. Look, I think Dunfermline fans at the end of the day, and David said this so many times to me, look, the reality was Hearts were always going to trounce the league anyway. But with the hope that they've showed at the start of the season, they will look to kind of, if I was a Dunfermline fan, I would hope to kind of maintain.
Well, sure, there's going to be a genuine title race this season, or if it's going to be the
Hearts run away with it. But if you want to hear more about Dunfermline, I don't know if he's still doing them now that he's up the road, but I'm going to assume that you can tune into Palace Talk and you can find out more there. Right, so we'll go down to Arbroath and Ayr, which is no bad, but I mean, I can't say anything past an Ayr win. That's me. That's all I've got to say. Arbroath still waiting for their first win of the season, and I just don't see it coming against Ayr. Ayr fourth in the table right now, with joint third if you like with Rafe. Look, Arbroath showed last season that they can be very difficult to beat, but it seems this season it's not quite there. Kieran.
And I agree with you. I can't see past an Ayr win, especially the fact that they've not picked up a win all season. It's not exactly the best of situations for Arbroath this year. To be this far into the season yet to register a win, I mean, it's really not looking good for their chances of staying up this year at all. But nah, I don't even. I was going to say maybe a wee sneaky draw, but nah. It needs to be an L win.
Callum, anything to add very quickly alongside your prediction?
These are both covered out for me. L win, don't see much past it.
And then the last game of the weekend, Inverness, yes, they are playing, but it's not Morton. It's Alloa who got their first win of the season last week against Arbroath. Now they look to carry on the momentum, but they've got a very tough time doing so against Inverness. For me, I'm going to very quickly say I think Inverness will win the game. I think Peter Grant and Alloa will now find themselves in a situation where they'll go on another run of games without a win. I don't know, for me it's not been a promising start to the season for Alloa, who once again last year showed they can be tough to beat. This year, 5 losses, 1 win, 1 draw. Kieran?
I mean, they never got absolutely hammered midweek against. They've done some decent defensive work.
Promising stuff there, I suppose.
Done some decent defensive work, and I don't know, I could maybe see them holding them out for a draw, considering Inverness drew last weekend with Dundee at home. No, I'm going to put a wee draw down for them.
We draw.
Just to try and spice things up.
I think we've been like an agreement with everyone so far, apart from me saying I think Aberdeen.
Somebody needs to start putting some wild claims in.
Look at me. Callum.
Yeah, if you said wild claims, I'll go for it. Why not? I'll win 1-0.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Would you like to give us the evidence that it would suggest?
I would not.
No comment. Right, well, I think we're about 45 minutes into the show almost, so we're going to be going down the old-fashioned route. Which David loves, and that is skipping right over League 1 and League 2 as fast as possible. Of course, if there's any talking points, I will bring them up before we move on to them. But League 1, well, there is actually a tasty game straight away to kick us off in Falkirk and Airdrie, which could be quite interesting considering both teams second and third last year in the league. Falkirk and Airdrie, I am going to go for it's at Falkirk, so I'll go for a Falkirk win. Kieran, yourself?
And a Falkirk win as well.
Draw.
Oh, a draw. Right, okay. Cove Rangers against Clyde. Cove, who once again started the season quite promising, have dipped a little bit. They have not won in their last 4 games. They need to turn the form around now, or I think their chances of topping that league are certainly gone. I know it's a bit early, but I don't know. It's, to catch up with Falkirk and Partick, I think it'd be impossible. But I think they'll do it. I'm going to go with a Cove win.
And I'm going to tip them to bounce back this week as well. So
don't see much on that. Cove win there.
Cove win. Partick Thistle, Peterhead. Can Partick keep the ball rolling after a few good results? Peterhead, yeah, I mean, got a couple of decent enough players, but I'm going to go Partick win again. Favourites only here.
I'd have maybe thought a draw if it was Peterhead at home, but at Firhill. No, Thistle win.
Thistle win.
I don't know. Peterhead got a win last week against these five. And Bushmit also. Go Peterhead.
You're going Peterhead? Oh, I tell you what, Kieran, you're feeling ballsy this week. Montrose Dumbarton. It's not the most enticing of games. As I say every week, Montrose, they have a lovely badge. So I'm going to go for
I like the pretty patterns on the jerseys.
I'm going to go for a Montrose win. Callum, I'll go to you first this time.
I don't know, I mean, 4th v 5th in the table.
I know it's
I
say it's not that enticing a tie when
It's
they're
quite
actually
tight.
quite
Yeah,
lock on. It's
4th
just
v
two
5th.
teams who I've never really looked at and went, oh, they're
I
playing
don't
this.
know, I mean, I don't know, I'll get back and forth. I've got the bottom one.
Dumbarton win.
Going to go with a wee draw just because they're so
Wee
close
draw.
to each other on the table.
And then finally we've got East Fife and Forfar, who both have had a kind of torrid time of it this season, which for me spells out a draw. And Kieran, yourself.
East Fife win.
East Fife win.
East Fife one.
East Fife win, so I'm the only one that differs there. So that's League One. Some interesting games, and I know we've not dived into them as much as some may like, but we are running a bit late with the show. But actually, do you want to leave your opinions below? Do you mind if we run a wee bit over time? We try and keep it an hour 10 minutes max. But if you want more, just feel free to let us know. League 2, then we'll fly on to there as we head into a weekend, which you know what can be quite decent. There's a couple of good ties there. We'll start with Elgin City and Stennismuir. Elgin flying at the minute. They've been really good, but lost the last game. Stennismuir, who have started picking up a decent wee bit of form. I don't see past Elgin winning. I'm going to go an Elgin win.
Same here.
Nodding your head.
Elgin win, especially at home.
I know being at home is a big advantage, despite I think in Scotland this year it's been, you know, when the Premier League first came back, home games didn't really matter. I think the percentage was like it was at the windy, but I think we've seen it this year be a bit more, you know, home does actually matter. Stranraer against the Albion Rovers, 6th against 8th. Stranraer 5 games in the bounce without losing, so I'm going to go for Stranraer winning here.
And I don't think you can look past Stranraer's form. It's got to be a Stranraer win for me.
Very same.
Very same. Cowden Beef against poor old Brecon. Poor Brecon. Will they finally get something? I mean, Cowden Beef have been much better this season, to be honest. So I'm saying poor old Brecon. Both teams won 3 and 4 points respectively. I'm backing them. I'm going for Brecon, and away win for Brecon.
Wait, is this the Blue Brazil?
This is the Blue Brazil, yes.
I
the
don't know how
Blue
you can
Brazil.
look past them. Nah, I'll go a Cowdenbeath win.
Did you not know that was their actual nickname?
No.
Really?
I think you're taking it
No,
past.
that is genuinely their nickname, the Blue Brazil. My God, have you seen their stadium? Oh dear.
I don't think I want to.
It's the worst. It's like out of all 42 clubs, the worst. Like easily.
Well, they model it on the favelas.
Callum, you going to go and back the Blue Brazil, or are you going for a Brecon win?
I'll go for right down the middle.
I'll go for a draw. I never even gave you the option. You've still done it.
Go for a draw.
Edinburgh City against Stirling Albion. Both teams who are kind of neck and neck in the table at the minute, 3rd and 4th. Yep. I'm going to go for an Edinburgh win though, being at home.
I think a narrow Edinburgh win. I don't think it's going to be convincing by any.
I don't think it'll be convincing either. And Cam.
Edinburgh win
as well. Which brings us on to the last game of the weekend. It's Flying Queen's Park, who are 5 clear at the top of the minute, taking on Annan Athletic. Will the form keep going, Kieran?
Yes.
Yes.
Comfortable win.
Yes.
Both saying yes. Comfortable win for Queen's Park. I'm going to go for a draw. I just have a sneaky feeling. It's one of these games, you know, when you do so well, just a wee drop point, a wee bit of lackadaisical business in apart from Queen's Park. But Simon Murray, his ginger hair's there to save the day. Do you remember like that phase when he was at Hibs? It was like girls don't like boys.
Exactly.
Now he's doing it at Hampden, turn it up. Right, okay. What?
Blur? No.
Blur?
Blur.
I don't know.
I don't like Blur. Oh, is that what it is? Well, I mean, you're the music guy. You're the music guy. Sing us a song, Gavin Moon. Sing us a song.
What's happening with the guy again? The Christmas Big Shaking Stevens.
Oh, fucking hell, Shaking Stratton. Right, we'll move on then to the Twitter questions before we get to the quiz. That is basically everything covered. Anything over the leagues that you want to add in before we head to the questions? It'll be good to go. Anything?
Nah, I think we've covered everything. Covered everything except League 1, League 2.
Did we cover St Mirren 3 Rangers 2?
I think we did.
Right, we'll move on to the questions then. I'm going to get them up on my wee laptop in front of me, Gavin. I wonder if this is what he's been doing the whole time. Right, so I put up the tweet earlier on about an hour ago saying any questions for today. Let's try not make it talk Celtic football was the main request. So we'll see what's happening here. Aaron comes in with the first question. He says, if Hibs don't go on to win the League Cup from here, is it the very pinnacle of Hibsing?
We touched on it earlier, but I think it is. I mean, I don't know how they're going to handle the pressure, as I said, because them being the favourites to go and win a tournament, I don't think they're going to be able to handle it. I think it will be Hibs in it, as we've seen in previous years, but I don't know. On paper, everybody's thinking Hibs surely have got to win that tournament, because the teams that are left in, they should be. Their team's been improved in my opinion, probably more than most other clubs in Scotland this season, but it will be Hibs and have to do it.
Calm yourself. Is it Hibs?
That has to be. Because I mean, as Kieran said, everybody's tipped them to be favourite now, surely. It's their cup to lose, essentially, if they're going to it.
Of course, it's not going to be as easy as we all thought, with both now Celtic and Rangers being knocked out of competition, especially Rangers part, who were clear favourites before last night. So Hibs are now in that same set of shoes. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be a tough game in the semi-final, never mind anything else. Aidan Drennan goes on to follow on from that and saying who'll be the Betfred Cup winners.
I've already said St Mirren.
St Mirren, he's feeling a St Mirren win. You're feeling?
Livy.
I've also said I'm feeling Livy, so I'm going to go for Livy as well. Rebel Tees, it says, how does the rest of the season look from now until May? It's a very, don't know, how does it look?
Mystic ball it.
I've always said this is the fucking mystic crystal ball, and because people seem to think I can see into the future, mate, how does it look? I don't know. Another 20 odd games to go in it. It's a bit hard to tell. There's still a January transfer window to pass through.
I don't think it's right to be making any judgments on how the season's going to go until at least the Old Firm's been played.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. In terms of Celtic and Rangers' view of the season, you know, January 2nd will say a lot. Apart from that, it's still very tight everywhere in the league. So.
I mean, down the bottom as well, I think the game at the weekend will be pivotal, as you said, in terms of Ross County and Hamilton, because Hamilton are looking to open up a wee bit of a gap there to try and save themselves yet again. But
it seems they just can't get rid of them.
No.
Yeah, so me and David had the question a couple of weeks ago, who wins the fight between the Immortals? Is it Brian Trice or Neil Lennon? Is it Hamilton or Neil Lennon was the question. And at this point I'm honestly baffled as to when we will lose them. Ryan asks, and here's we had last week, would you have a fight a lion-sized duck or a duck-sized lion? Was that it? Was that the question? Aye. And last week we've got Ryan saying tea or coffee.
Oh, I'm a tea man.
A tea man. Tea man, aye, it's obviously tea. Anyway, drinks coffee, needs checked out. Connor Mitchell, who's been signing of the season that's outside the top league so far this season? There's a few players over the leagues that you can look at that have been decent signings. Dunfermline have recruited well, first of all. I'll say that in David's part. You know, they've had a few good players come in. You look at Fraser Murray on loan, who's came in, done a job. You look at the likes of Stephen Whittaker coming in, who's been injured for a while now but makes a big impact with the player, the experience he's got. League 1 and League 2 sides have recruited well. You look at Queen's Park and the players they've brought in. I mean, you look at teams even below the top 4 leagues. East Kilbride signing players like Paul Payton. There's been good signings everywhere outside the top flight. A bit hard to pinpoint, I would say, for one specific player. Declan McManus. That's my answer. Anybody got him? It's actually good. I think it's round the leagues. I think it's really difficult to pinpoint specific players because goals fly into everywhere and stuff like that, and you know, defence isn't great in the leagues either. So it's a bit hard. Anybody got a particular shout?
I couldn't think of one specific person.
And I can't even because the best players for me who have stood out in the leagues have been players that have been at their clubs. You know, and have been there for quite a while. So I can't think off the top of my head who's signed for clubs. Charlie Adam, played at Dundee.
Some of a standout player.
No set world at it, but
yeah, it's one I'd have to sit and think about. You know, it's on the spot. It's quite hard to think about who's moved where and who's signed for who. Who's the best young talent in their squad? Who has the best young talent in their squad outside the Old Firm? Says Ryan. Kieran, you can kick us off.
I have to go with Aberdeen just for the fact they've got Ferguson, McCrory as their 2 starting centre mids, and it shows the impact they've had considering when they're not in the team how poorly they've played. So it shows the impact they've got as young guys to be actually being the focal point of that team. Even with Scott Wright in that team as well, I've always thought he's a phenomenal player. And I think he's good for them.
Phenomenal, as far as phenomenal.
Just like your McCarthy.
Callum, for you, would you agree? I think it is pretty spot on, isn't it? It's, I mean, there's players, young players around the league are great. You know, you look at it elsewhere, but I think Aberdeen have got it pretty.
Just because of the impact they've got on the team.
Exactly.
I think one of the biggest ones for him was bringing in McCrory. So versatile player here.
What a signing turned out to be.
I
mean, Rangers aren't exactly struggling without him, but he kind of felt the potential that he could have at Rangers. Now he's went to Aberdeen and he's done a grand job. The final question comes from Tim, who says the board, thanks or no? Go on, you know you want to.
No comment.
Right, so we'll end that there, which means we come on to my favourite part of the show. Cal, Quiz time. And it's good I get to compete for a change as well. I mean, I like this. I like getting the chance to actually compete. So, who beat David here?
I beat David.
You beat David. David beat you.
Aye.
Then I beat David the last time. It was 3 us. And then I think that was the last time we done one. So I'm going for 2 in a row here. The Undertaker streak begins tonight. So Callum, I will flip a coin, and Kieran, because you're probably more like than me, I'll let you pick heads or tails to see what set you get. What you want, heads or tails? Right, Siri, heads or tails? She's a regular on the show now, you see. Right, it's tails. So you picked tails, didn't you?
No.
Oh, did you know? No. Right, so you picked heads, which means I get set A or set B. David likes taking the penalties first. I like taking them second. So, Kieran, you're getting set 1, my man.
That's fine.
Right, on you go. This is that big moment. Join in at home, tell us how many you get.
In 2012, you had the salt and sauce.
It's him you're asking.
Was it?
No, it's him you're asking.
I thought it was him. By you nod, you done it. I thought you meant he was getting the second set.
No, I go.
Right, so Kieran, 2012, the Salt and Sauce Cup final, it was called, the 5-1, Hibs and Hearts. How many times have they faced each other in the final otherwise? Scottish Cup has.
Oh.
But Hibs and Hearts, how many times have they faced
Played
each other?
in the Scottish Cup final.
There was a question very similar to this, I think, in the last show. Come on, Davy Marshall, save a penalty.
I don't know, I'll go 7.
As big as 7?
Oh, you can't
Don't
give a
boil my
second
head.
chance.
I'm just saying.
Don't boil my head, man.
1.
Is that it?
What?
1.
Fucking hell.
That's mad, isn't it? So they've played twice altogether in a cup final.
That's mad, yes.
Jesus Christ almighty.
Right, Ryan, question goes to you.
Chance to take the lead, huh?
Arbroath hold the record win of 36-0 of a Bond record.
This was a
in
question before.
1885. On the same day, Dundee Heart beat Aberdeen Rovers by what score?
This was a question before. I remember getting asking it, and I can't remember the answer. But oh Christ! So what was right? So the score was
36-0.
36-0. And then
Arbroath beat Monaccord.
Right.
On the same day, Dundee Heart beat Aberdeen Rovers by what score?
37-0.
35-0.
Oh God! Oh God, man! I knew it was going to be one way or the other. Oh Jesus!
Kieran, second question to you. Which current Premiership club was first to win the Scottish Cup?
I'm sure in my head, don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of see when you're at Hampden, the Scottish Cup final.
I know.
Every time you
I'll just go with Hibs.
Indeed, it's
can't
Hibs
wait.
1-0 to Kieran.
I was going to say Celtic if it was me, to be honest. I had a feeling it was us. I know we won the found until a wee bit later, but I just had a feeling it was us. Right.
Question goes to Ryan. Which of these teams has the Scotland national team not played? Andorra, Egypt, Paraguay or Turkey?
Egypt.
Andorra.
Oh, way man. I was confident it was Egypt. I know. Oh, I guess he's won now.
We come back to Kieran. Kieran, how many different venues has hosted the Scottish Cup final?
Oh, that's quite a good question, that. That's quite a good question.
I don't know, I feel like I don't know, I'm going to go 4.
7.
7? Is it a list of the 7?
No.
7 stages would be. I guess back in the day.
Think of old tandems.
Aye, shit like that, you know. Right, okay, I've got a chance to pull it back then. Right, that's not bad.
One jumps back to Ryan. Which country outside the British Isles has Scotland beat most? Lithuania, Norway, the Faroe Islands or Denmark?
So the options are Lithuania, Denmark, Faroe Islands
and Norway.
Try to think. Well, the Faroe Islands, a thing like back years ago, were they owned by anybody? Did they even have a football team? See, that's why I'm ruling. I want to rule out the Faroe Islands because I feel like they've probably not played football as long as a national team as Denmark, Norway, for example. Then the other one was Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Lithuania.
Denmark.
Ah, sheesh.
I would have went Lithuania.
We played them so many times.
I know.
Question goes back to Kieran. Kieran, which of these nationalities has had the most scorers in Scottish Cup finals? Wales, France, Australia or Republic of Ireland?
That's quite a good question as well. These are good questions, Gavin. Well done. Well done.
I think I'm doing it at the sidelines. Can all these quizzes?
Shut up, Lenny. I'm trying to come up with a quiz here.
Wales. I don't know, I've got to go France.
Australia.
So you've got the likes of Tom Rogic,
Who's it?
I meant Skippy. Oh, Skippy. Oh, jeez. I meant Skippy. Is McDonald even scored my Scottish Cup final? I don't know. We'll move on. What was your answer? Oh,
Jesus, lost the fucking plot now.
So it's back to you, right?
I need to get this right or I'm basically gone.
The last goal scorer in a Scottish Cup final that didn't involve Rangers or Celtic.
Oh, right. So, there's no anything before. So, it was the year before Hibs and Rangers. And that was 2016. What was the 2015 Scottish Cup final?
I'm not telling you.
What was the 2015 Scottish Cup final again? Who won it, first of all? Because the year before was... Oh, actually, that year is completely void.
Are you asking about the goal scorer?
The last scorer.
Who was the last scorer?
Because obviously I remember 2014 was St Johnstone and Dundee United, and I remember 2016 was Hibs. I just can't remember what 2015 was. You've got to be joking. Who was it that won the 2015 Scottish Cup? I can't remember who won it, never mind anything else. That's the one year that I just can't... Oh my god, because 2013 was Motherwell Celtic, wasn't it? What was that?
No, it was 2011.
Was it? Oh god.
2013 was Celtic Hibs.
Oh, that's right, aye, Celtic Hibs, aye. 2015? Who played in it, man? Right.
Remember Ryan said we don't like to have these over an hour and 10 minutes.
I don't know, Stevie May.
James Vincent.
James Vincent. So what was the final again? I remember he played for Dundee at a point, but Dundee weren't in that final.
Inverness, we don't know.
Inverness, I think. Did he play for Dundee? Maybe I'm talking about
Inverness. With a handball.
Even.
The referee was out of order. I don't know. I did play for Dundee. I was right, but oh god, right, okay, right. Well, I need you to get this right.
That's a piss poor penalty shoot.
It's just like me and David's last week. I got 1-1 though. Right, please get it right, man. Our knowledge of Scottish football is so fucking extensive, isn't it?
So Kieran's final question: which of these Scottish League grounds is furthest north? Arbroath, Brecon, Forfar or Montrose?
This has been asked before.
Is it?
Aye. I hope he's not seen the episode.
I wouldn't have.
Forgot to record that one.
Let's go Forfar.
Brecon.
Have a chat.
My Scottish geography is shocking. I know where Arbroath is out of them.
Right, so if I get this right, we need a tiebreaker sort of question, right? But if I get it wrong, then Kieran, you're walking away with perhaps the most
lacklustre
penalty shootout of all time.
Got a few will get this one right.
No, you don't know if I'll get it.
Who was the last team to win the Scottish Junior Cup that wasn't Auchinleck Talbot?
David's sitting there and they're like, oh.
I'll give you the options.
There options because I have an answer in my head. So just as well, I was just about to blot out an answer there.
So Pollock, Huddersfield United, Glenafton Athletic and Musselburgh Athletic.
Oh, just as well, my team isn't there. I was going to say I was going to say Inverurie. So what four clubs is there?
Pollock, Huddersfield United, Glenafton Athletic and Musselburgh Athletic.
I'm stuck between two. I'm not going to say which two because...
How have you eliminated the other two then?
Well, just a process of elimination, you see. I'm going to go for D, Musselburgh.
You're wrong. Glenafton Athletic. So Kieran takes the 1-0 win.
It was a hard fought.
Very tense. So that does it. Two very likely. Two fucking pair of shouts in a row. Christ, we have to get better at these, don't we? But it was a good show. I enjoyed that. It was nice to have you both on, and I'm hoping that the Rangers fans think that we kept it a wee bit level-headed.
I'd like to think so.
This is the point where it transitions into us as a band singing up in our suits. But no, it was a good show. It was good to have you on, and we'll be back on Monday, I believe, where we'll be talking. We'll have to review the weekend. We'll see if Celtic's managed to win a quadruple treble.
If there's no episode Monday, you know why.
And then we've got a few other things we'll get to talk about, but then after that it'll be the preview before the second Old Firm of the season, which I believe we'll hopefully have. All the cameras aren't out, so we'll get on. We're still on camera. Which we'll believe we'll have a guest on first, so we'll wait and see. But boys, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Anything to say before I press stop?
Nah.
Nothing
for me.
Nah. Looking forward to training with the boys tomorrow.
Right, I am. Be a hard session tomorrow.
Are you going to shower the night?
Nope.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.